The challenge was how to make it different from the first series, keep the format fresh and do something slightly different but based on the same issue. So what we decided to do was to cast profiled Australians who had a greater level of information or knowledge about the issue. I was very keen to get a sitting parliamentarian, but unfortunately the Parliament was sitting the dates during when we were filming. So my next option was a former politician who had some sort of connection with the issue, and Peter Reith. Obviously, he was an architect of the Pacific solution with the Howard government. With casting for the actual refugees in Australia, we first decided which countries we wanted to go to. The biggest group of asylum seekers arriving in Australia at the moment by boat are Hazaras from Afghanistan. So I wanted to go to Afghanistan, and the greatest humanitarian crisis on the planet at the moment is Somalia, with more refugees leaving that country than any other. The biggest challenge while filming the trip is obviously security. It's keeping the participants safe. They all had to take a leap of faith in agreeing to go on an unknown journey with unknown people from a production company. What I promised them is that I couldn't promise 100% safety because I didn't know what was going to happen all the time. But I promised that we would do everything in our power to keep them as safe as possible. One of the security precautions we did take was to give the participants hostile environment training before they left Australia. They had to learn how to defend themselves if they were being attacked. They learned what to look out for if they're on the roads when they're in a car in Mogadishu and Kabul, signs that there may be danger around them. And they learned how to move away from a scene of violence or danger in the safest way possible. The hostile environment training really focused their minds and in fact freaked a couple of them out. They suddenly realised, wow, we are going to places where bad things happen, and bad things happen a lot of the time. We had security teams in both Afghanistan and Mogadishu, Somalia. In Afghanistan, 2 days before we arrived, Americans had burnt Korans, which upset locals, and there were actually gangs on the streets of Kabul looking for Westerners to kill. There was a moment in Tirana's house when we were in a neighbourhood that we didn't know, that had been wrecked by a local Afghan security person, not by our security team leader. And we went in and there was only one muddy road and there was no other road out. And I was concerned then that if a gang had turned up, we really didn't have many escape options. But we visited, these are people who have to live there all the time. So, we just get a taste of the fear that they experience day in, day out. There are some things you can't control on the shoot, like the weather. Our intention was to take the participants from Java to Christmas Island on an Indonesian fishing boat. They didn't believe that. Then when they got on the boat, they'd seen Series 1, so they thought, oh, you're not going to really do this. And we were. 200 kilometres south, a huge storm had hit Christmas Island. The Coast Guard said that if we had proceeded, it would have been not only foolhardy, but an extremely dangerous decision to actually proceed. There were some health issues on the journey. We lost one of our sound recorders. He had to actually leave the shoot early because he had contracted some sort of tropical disease that was never actually diagnosed. So in the scene where we meet the Khan family, Ali Khan and his wife Sara and their 2 children, Dave Corlett, the host, is actually acting as sound operator there. He's operating the boom in that scene because our sound guy was off in a hospital.
Hi Sara, nice to meet you. This is Fatima.
The negotiations with DIAC, that's the Department of Immigration and Citizenship, were lengthy and extensive to get access to Christmas Island Detention Centre. Television cameras had never been allowed in to the extent that they were with us. And the three of the participants were allowed to walk freely around the detention centre and talk to people, talk to detainees or clients, as they call them. And that was unprecedented. So that was a coup for the program, and I think DIAC agreed because they considered the approach we took on Series 1 to be objective. We didn't actually have an agenda, we just presented what the situation is and let people make up their own minds. The thing I've learned making this series is that refugees and asylum seekers are really like anyone else. Their two primary concerns, and almost to a person, are security, safety, and education for their children. They understand that if they can educate their children, then their children will have a better life than they have. And that seems to be the most important thing for them, as well as being safe and away from the persecution that they're fleeing from. And I suppose that's not really remarkable, but it's just it was something I did learn and is obvious, but there's no difference between what a refugee and asylum seeker wants and what anyone else really wants.